All right, we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So in all the craziness that we've seen in the crypto space for the past several months, we've got people who are just, super, super bearish. But right now, we've got something that to me looks like some good news, all right, that I want to tell you all about today. And that's about what's happened with the U.S. executive order and what that probably means for crypto regulations coming down the pike. We talked about this some yesterday in our live stream, like saying, hey, this is going to come out probably this week. And now we have a big update on that. And it actually looks better than we expected, and probably long term, actually good for crypto. So we're going to talk about that, all the details you need to understand. We'll look at a lot of the news updates that have happened in this space since our live stream yesterday. Again, we do these live streams Monday through Friday this channel. Just subscribe, turn on notifications. You're going to find out about those whenever we go live. We're going to answer some of your questions and a lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. And on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to know how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So we got people jumping in the chat here. Let's see here. We've got Machiavelli, Ethan, David. Let's see here. Automatic Beats. Let's see here. Crypto Cows, Culture Hives, Salvatore. Hope I'm saying that right. Welcome, Randy. All right, so let's jump into this. So, we got what looks like to be some good news for the crypto space regarding crypto regulations. Again, yesterday we talked about, we saw some leaks from people, familiar with the matter. You always got to take that with a grain of salt, about what was going to likely happen this week in terms of an executive order on crypto regulations from President Biden inside the United States. We've been talking about crypto regulations for a long time. It's something that's keeping a lot of people from entering into the space because of the uncertainty in the regulatory environment. Like, what's going to happen? Are you going to see some massive crackdown where, once you put your money in, either you can't access it anymore, or maybe like now the use cases are so restricted for crypto that it causes the value of our assets to tank. Those seem to be the two primary concerns for a lot of people. And we have good news about this crypto regulations. It doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. So let's just pull a story from my screen here. So I'll bring in my co-host Walshy on the channel. If there's anything that y'all want to talk about in our streams, you can ping Walshy on Twitter. You can see his Twitter handle there right below his avatar. So White House confirms details of Biden's planned executive order on digital assets. So the White House on Wednesday published details of a much anticipated executive order from President Joe Biden on treatment of digital assets. Okay, so this was from a fact sheet that's been going around multiple media outlets. Okay, that describes the order as outlining the first ever whole government approach to addressing the risks and harness the potential benefits of digital assets and their underlying technology. Okay. So out of everything we talked about yesterday, this confirms most of what we kind of predicted was probably going to happen with this in terms of the positives for crypto, or the most likely outcomes of this, but also highlights the positives. We kind of talked about some things that could be bad and some things that could be good, and this seems to be on the better side of the possible outcomes we talked about yesterday. So first of all, the order addresses hot button issues, including a strategy to protect consumers, financial stability, national security, and climate risks. Those seem to be the big sort of talking points for crypto. Protect consumers. We see this all the time. Language from the SEC. National security. We see this thing all the time, like Bitcoin's only used for criminals, right? Financial stability, risks of stable coins, potentially moving towards central bank digital currencies, risks of privately issued stable coins, and climate risk we see this all the time with, crypto mining, and what that does in terms of energy consumption. So per earlier reporting, it's fairly benign. All right, despite early fears of a pending crypto crackdown. It does, however, emphasize an all-government approach, calling on a new work from the Treasury, Financial Stability Oversight Council, Federal Reserve, and national security agencies on relevant portions of the ecosystem. So that's exactly what I talked about yesterday, that a likely outcome of this was going to be, hey, we're going to get all these different agencies involved, and we're going to clearly define what your role is in this process. Say, hey, this is your job, this is your job, this is your job. Because right now, there's a lot of people scratching their heads saying, hey, under whose oversight is this supposed to be, right? Who's responsible for defining what you can do with crypto in this way, what you can do with crypto in that way? And it looks like the division of responsibilities is likely to clear up pretty soon. Okay, so it's like we're kind of getting all hands on deck and trying to see how everybody fits in the picture. That's basically what we talked about yesterday, and that is coming true. So a statement from Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on the new executive order also seems to have gone up accidentally on the Treasury's website before being taken down, but not before its web archive was captured. So like the fact sheet, Yellen emphasized coordination as well as the existing basis of agency interest in crypto, saying this work will complement ongoing efforts by the Treasury. So one way in which I really think this is a good for the crypto space, number one, is the lack of an affirmative on any crazy regulations anytime soon. That's good. The other thing is the tone of this seems like it intends to foster innovation in crypto itself while hopefully moving towards common sense regulations. All right. That's what the undertones of all this language looks like to me, which is kind of the best outcome that I talked about yesterday. All right. And so I actually want to read another take on this that seems to kind of reinforce that idea. This is from Jeremy from Circle. Okay. So the White House executive order and U.S. government strategy of digital assets is basically a thread with thoughts. Okay. So this is very akin to the 1996, 1997 kind of moment when the whole government was waking up to the commercial internet. Okay, so the U.S. seems to be taking on the reality that digital assets represent one of the most significant technology and infrastructures of the 21st century. It's rewarding to see this from the White House after so many have been, making this case for 9+ years. Anybody who's been in crypto for a long time is feeling very vindicated by this, right? It's like I said yesterday, you don't intend to just ban things that you're going to want to regulate and keep inside your country. And when you start seeing this conversation bubble up to the mainstream, these people taking it seriously. You can't ignore it. So specifically, the executive order calls for nearly every federal agency to take on underlying and developing policy positions, as we talked about, but vitally that support innovation and U.S. national economic competitiveness. That's exactly what I've been saying, which is basically it's not in the best incentives to just say, boom, crackdown. We don't want crypto on our turf anymore. You lose out on tax revenue. You lose out on GDP growth. All right. They don't want either of those things. Now it's cost benefit, right? If crypto was so bad, by any of the concerns that are raised in this report, that it negated those benefits, then you would probably see that. But I don't think anybody with half a brain is looking around going okay, these problems are so bad that they negate these. I just don't think that's the case. So we're at a turning point in geopolitical and geoeconomic systems and history. And the U.S. now has the opportunity to lean in to an open internet native economic infrastructure while others focused on closed, tightly controlled, and privacy eroding alternatives. Okay, this is very, very relevant to our current global moment. All right, when we're seeing, economic deplatforming, right? All this type of stuff. We're seeing people who don't have access to their money in terms of just regular citizens, all that type of stuff. And this is very relevant to that. We're having an open internet native economic infrastructure that changes the dynamic of a lot of these things. So in many cases, the executive order sets out initiatives to explore and engage constructive problem solving, privacy, security, financial inclusion. All right. So here's the other thing. While there is reference to continued research on central bank digital currencies, the executive order is appropriately focused on the here and now of rapid growth in digital assets and stablecoins, and getting it right so that the new technology can flourish in a responsible manner. So we did talk about this, how we could see, essentially a push towards central bank digital currencies as sort of an alternative to privately issued stablecoins. I still think that's in the future, but it doesn't look like that's the immediate concern for this executive order. Be all right, boom, we're moving towards a CBDC now, which in my opinion is a good thing. Okay. And I think this thread totally nails that. It's focused on the here and now, the really important parts of crypto. So finally, for those of us in the crypto community, that's pretty much everybody watching this stream here. Um, Basically, this executive order should be viewed as the single best opportunity to engage with policymakers on the issues that matter. The proverbial doors of policymakers are wide open. This is now a national conversation in the U.S. So let's see here. I think I might have lost Walshy here. Lost him. He back now?
Yeah, I think my internet hiccup there.
That's all right. So yeah, I think that's a really great thread, kind of summarizing a lot of the points. Really kind of similar to my thoughts here. I think he has a lot of good points about the focus on the here and now. And of course, this is, somebody who's got a pretty big interest in what's happening with the, regulations on crypto, especially in regards to central bank digital currencies and privately issued stablecoins. So, yeah, I mean, hey,
Fantastic.
if Jeremy or anybody in Jeremy's camp is ever watching these streams and wants to come on and do an interview about these topics, I'd love to do that sometime.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely great. To your point, it's exactly what we called yesterday. All said and done, it was a bill saying, hey, we're looking into this. I thought what was striking, because I think you covered most of the ground there, but I thought what was striking was it announced that the United States wanted to be the leader in cryptocurrencies. And that's like a stark, not like a 180, because there never really was policy that said that America wasn't. I mean, I guess kind of, yeah, like a 180, right? Because there's the whole
180 in the messaging, right?
Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
know if it's lip service or if it's actually like, what they're going to do, but it's a change in tone and messaging that we have not seen.
Yeah, exactly right. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that like low key institutions and the big corporations were getting into it. And then there was the whole kind of air of the government being like, no, it's only for bad people. But like you said, we've seen like a complete 180 and saying now that they want to be the leaders in cryptocurrency and BTC and et cetera, throughout the world. And that's just really exciting moment. Just like Jeremy said, it's a watershed moment. Things are radically different. It's like we woke up to a new world today in that sense. But again, like we were kind of calling yesterday, right. This is just the announcement. We've got about 3 to 6 months. They still need to deliberate. I have a list here of all the departments involved. It's a lot. They all got to get together, do these meetings, talk about it, go through proposals. I'm not going to go through the list, but it's a lot.
There's a lot of talk.
And so, yeah, a lot of talk. So we'll see what happens and develops out of this, later this year. I'm optimistic, but I'm a permanent optimist. So, hopefully good things will happen. We'll see broad adoption. And,
I'm cautiously optimistic. And honestly, the reason why is like it's just very, very thesis driven in terms of seeing where the incentives are. Like the incentives are really just not there to push crypto off U.S. soil, to lose out on tax revenue, to lose out on GDP growth, to lose out on the biggest opportunity. You know what I mean? The fastest growing technology since the internet. Growing as twice as fast as the internet was the same number of users in the late 90s. Okay, it's not. I think he's right talking about this is sort of the moment where everybody kind of wakes up and realizes that this thing is important and here to stay. Even though a lot of people watch this channel known this for the better part of a decade, if not a whole decade. So we definitely see. We definitely see some green, on the charts. I'd say definitely this is encouraging in the short term, but, be careful out there. We can see Bitcoin back up. I think we got back up close to $43,000. Let's see, actually, how far does our wick go up here? No, not quite. I think we're seeing some short squeezes too. All right. I think we're definitely in a time where, some big players are definitely going to, get excited about some of these short-term opportunities when people get bullish about crypto from news like we saw today. And, I'll just say, I don't like to give financial advice, but I always am okay with telling people be careful. It's still a good time to be careful.
Definitely. Yeah. Markets jumped, like you said, definitely be careful. They're very unpredictable. It was weird because earlier this week, when the regulations or the announcement of the regulations was announced, the markets dropped. And now that like the announcement for the regulations is here, the markets are going up. So it's kind of a wild market out there.
Yeah, markets are always multifaceted. It's hard to tell, like, it's hard to tell why prices are always doing what they're doing. We can always craft a narrative, craft an explanation, and you ultimately, at the end of the day, you're making bets based on what you think is the nature of reality. It's always hard to know for sure. Hindsight's 2020. The future and the present are quite blurry. So I mean, I definitely think what's going on right now has some impact, but I think we're also seeing some significant short squeezes happening. And that tends to be because a lot of people don't understand that one of the reasons that crypto is really volatile in the first place is the amount of leverage. All right. There's an insane amount of leverage in the crypto
Yeah.
space. And that's one of the reasons that the prices are so volatile in the first place. It's like, when you look at the crypto market cap, a lot of people don't understand this, but like, I forget, I don't know what the market cap is right now. Let's say it's close to $2 trillion. Like
It was
we've
just
been over
shy
2
when I
trillion.
checked earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, so about 2 trillion. That doesn't mean that like $2 trillion, like green US dollars, have entered into the crypto market. That's not what that means. And so part of it is like there's a lot of leverage in the space. And when you see stuff like shorts getting wrecked and all these liquidations and stuff, that can cause the price to move really quickly. And it doesn't necessarily mean a big fundamental shift in momentum has taken place yet. Like I said, I'm not a big TA guy. Like I don't claim to be a cryptocurrency price oracle. I do not claim to be a technical analysis expert, but I do look at the fundamentals in this space. Have been around for a very long time. I'm still long term, very bullish on network adoption and what that does to cryptocurrency prices. But in terms of like kind of looking at a trend reversal, I'm still seeing a significant amount of resistance right here. It's like every time we get back up here, we're getting rejected. All right. I mean, it's encouraging that we're holding like these types of things as support. And if you zoom out on a much larger time horizon, like you could still call this an uptrend, right? You could draw a line through here. No, I didn't put on log. I'll put on log. You know what I mean? But yeah, basically what I'm saying is I'm not going to get too excited about a trend reversal until we can kind of bust through some of these areas of resistance, start holding like these areas of support. Again, I don't have any fancy moving averages drawn on my chart, all type of stuff. I just quickly pull up TradingView. But yeah, that's kind of my take on this. But in the short term, we do. What one good takeaway though is that you can see markets responding positively to good news. All right. That typically doesn't tend to happen when things are like overly bearish. You know what I mean? Like when it's just so much drag on the space that it doesn't even do anything. So take all that for what it is. Of course, not financial advice. That's just kind of my take on the space today.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. We've got a lot of really excellent takes in the chat as usual. I love our community, and a lot of them are pretty funny too, and a lot are on point. I think Mr. Wright has laid out a couple of really good ones, but says project offshore, and actually let me back that up. USA is not a leader in crypto right now. Projects are starting offshore, and that's 1,000% true. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if you have any input.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as I was saying before, it's like I think the change here is ultimately a messaging, but that's a good start, right? Like that's a good start. I think you're right. Like I was saying before, like this could be totally lip service and it doesn't actually match up with what their actions are. But saying it's a good start. I think you're right that we see a lot of things happen offshore. That's what regulations do, right? It's like basically there's lots of policies that get enacted that do not have the outcome that they appear to intend. All right. So like you ban something because you want it to go away. It doesn't go away. It just goes somewhere else. Right. You stop your citizens from doing something. Well, a certain critical mass of them get fed up enough and they just leave. All right. They go somewhere else. All right. And then you lose out on whatever they would have done inside your own country in the first place. Sorry. Lose out on the GDP growth. Like,
look at FTX.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, let's say, when we had the orders go through before, or sorry, the infrastructure bill saying like, everybody in crypto is gonna be a broker. All right. So what happens when, you have to think about this idea of small things that make a big difference, right? Let's say that the number of people who participate in the crypto industry is like 0.5% of the United States. I'm just pulling this number out of somewhere, right? I just making it up off the top of my head. Like I don't even know close to what the actual number is. It's probably even too high. But let's say that 0.5% of the population of the United States was responsible for like 3% of the GDP or something. I'm just making these numbers up, right? So like you could have outsized impact from a small group of people. What happens if you just said, well, all your jobs are now illegal, and then you push, let's say, 50% of them or 30% of them, right, outside the United States, and then you made everybody else illegal, you just still lost out on 3% of GDP growth and 1% went somewhere else. So it's like, you don't want that, especially when like those single digit percentages and then the big scale actually matter, right? Those can be the difference in a recession or a, expansion. So that's just my take. And so trying to regulate that type of stuff does not necessarily have and that's why I say the incentives are there. Like the incentives are there to not do that.
Exactly. If we can foster an environment where those companies will start here and they're excited to start here and they innovate here and they hire here, they develop here, that's the best case scenario. There's a couple of sarcastic takes, of course, in chat. New Inception says, so what's the good news, for example? Right.
Well,
but that would be the good news.
He also may be showing up late. Yeah.
True. Yeah. But I mean, that would be the good news, right? Is once, and there are concerns, guys. We are very concerned about regulation. We want them to do it right. We want to make sure we don't lose the decentralized ethos. We want to make sure, privacy and stuff can still be intact in a form. But like the good news would be everything starts here in America. Things are eager to start in America, develop in America, from someone who lives in America, at least, for a lot of things out there, like working with DAOs, get kind of complicated, especially for legal frameworks, and removing that what's the like word, just like that hanging kind of lingering unknown feeling of what's going to happen if you're in America and you want to participate in like the crypto market. Getting rid of that, it would be the ultimate best case scenario. Being excited to start a crypto company in America and not running into like the Ripple problem, for instance.
Right. And so I got a couple thoughts on that. First of all, for everybody who's watching this, I realize about 50% of the people watching these live streams are not inside the United States. And we talk about a lot what's going on in the U.S. Part of that's because, first of all, we're U.S. based. Second of all, just very realistic and knowing that the U.S.'s actions affect a significant part of the world in many ways. That's why we like talk about a lot of stuff. Also, it's like, it's hard. I don't really want to talk too much about what's going on in other countries, mostly because we don't have a skin in the game to talk about that type of stuff either. So just so everybody knows kind of like where we're coming from when we talk about the U.S. so much. So second part is, honestly, I think the lowest hanging fruit that we can take off here is easing people's minds about just participating in Web 3.0 crypto as users themselves. All right. I think the builders and like in terms of people who are starting big projects, I think that's kind of a secondary objective, I would say. I don't mean that we want to deprioritize it at all. But I think some of that stuff's going to be harder not to crack. So, for example, like, the person in the chat here, I can't remember who it was talking about, says want to be a leader, but still hard to start a project in this space. I don't think that's going to I think some of those things are not going to get so much easier like soon. Here's why. Because it just depends on what kind of project you mean, right? If you're talking about something where you're issuing something that's arguably a security, I don't think that the U.S. is going to make that like easier anytime soon, right? Where you can just start launching tokens left and right without worry of, failing the Howey test, right? Like it's probably not going to happen. So that's probably not going to get easier. That's probably going to continue to push stuff offshore. So I wouldn't hold my breath on that type of stuff, but a lot of other stuff in terms of infrastructure, in terms of dApps, decentralized finance applications, NFTs, stuff that's, kind of more benign. I think we can get a lot more clarity on that and encourage growth and innovation in those regards. DAOs maybe even, but even then DAOs have the problem of governance tokens. It's like, we kind of see a list of things in terms that could be possibly regulated in the crypto space, from like stable coins, things that are arguably securities, all the way down to like NFTs, in terms of like likelihood that we'd see these things heavily regulated. Okay. And so I think what's gonna be a sliding scale where it's like we get clarity on some of these things, but then, we got some stuff that's gonna be in the crosshairs, like no matter what. For my opinion, I think privately issued stable coins are gonna be firmly in the crosshairs. I think things that suspiciously look like securities in terms of tokens are always gonna be in the crosshairs, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Love to machine gun a couple of fast news.
Sure.
We want to take a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Love it. We'll go back to chat, but just to hit a couple fast things, guys. So this is more ecosystem development. I'm just going to kind of go through these. There's an announcement that UST, which is the stable coin for Terra, is going to be going to Aave. The Bored Ape Yacht Club donated $1 million to the Ukraine efforts. The Philippines is launching a pilot CBDC implementation, which is pretty interesting. Virginia is allowing state banks to offer crypto custody services. That's always really fun. Good for the state of Virginia, another state on board and joining the movement. Papa John's is offering an NFT. That's always fun.
Nice.
Wallet Connect, which is a great service. They just did a Series A to raise $11 million. And what they do is they essentially allow wallets, regardless of like integration status with certain dApps, to integrate with dApps. And so they now have more money to develop tech around like integrating wallets and allowing them to interact with each other. So that's pretty cool. LeBron James filed for 4 trademarks for NFTs in the metaverse. So LeBron James is in.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And State Street, which is the second largest custodian bank in the world, it will offer crypto custodial services for institutions by the end of the year. Oh, I'm sorry, I said the world, I meant America, but yeah, no, it's great. It's really great stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I did see something floating around. I don't know if you had any confirmation on this. I don't know if it was just like a headline and I didn't get the context, but we did see some fears maybe past couple weeks about like crackdown on people who issued NFTs. I don't know if that was all just like BS or if it was true. But if it is true, then we got people at the likes of Papa John's, Time Magazine, lots of people who would fall under the fire for that one.
Yeah, and how many celebrities now? 200 plus corporations going into Decentraland. Or the sandbox, rather, a lot of people. So, and I think that's the best part about it. That's what a collective movement really entails, is everyone gets involved, and that makes it so much more difficult for someone that needs to regulate the space to try to clamp down specifically on certain areas and be like, no, right? Well, what about Papa John's? What about LeBron James? What are they going to do? Right. And those are the kind of questions when there's more people involved and everyone's kind of collaborating together and collectively coming together as a movement. It makes it way, better for us in the end. So seeing the celebrities, seeing the businesses all pile in is great. I wanted to,
or they can also just hire really good lawyers and we can't.
Yeah, exactly. Unless the lawyers are watching and you want to help us out and work for free. Would love that too. I wanted to do one thing that I thought was really important before we sign off here, because this one's for the OGs out there. But LimeWire announces its comeback as a Web3 NFT marketplace for music NFTs. I thought that's quite exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I don't know.
So did you use
LimeWire?
Does somebody actually own LimeWire?
Yeah, so 2 Austrian entrepreneurs. Here a little bit of preface. So basically, in 2010, LimeWire closed. There was a huge lawsuit. It was like a 9-figure settlement, and it was all done by the music industry, clamped down.
And the RIAA probably it was going at their throat.
Yeah, they were, unfortunately. But it's been revived slowly. I actually have their names, Paul and Julian. I'm sorry about your last name, Zehed Meir. I probably butchered that. But slowly, incrementally, over the last decade, they've been picking up branding from LimeWire and just adding it. And then I think it was this morning, is when I caught the news at least. They announced that, they're going to bring back LimeWire. If you don't know what LimeWire was, for the OGs out there, you definitely do. But in Web 1, when music peer-to-peer services started blowing up, you had Napster, you had Kazaa, and you had LimeWire, which were the big 3 back then, that were peer-to-peer services. That,
it's a small one, like BearShare too.
Yeah, I remember BearShare. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And they were pretty big back then. It's really simple. It's just like BitTorrent, trade music back and forth, same concept. And so they're bringing it back again. This is huge. Another interesting point is that they're actually going to denominate everything in USD as opposed to crypto, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I mean, I think it's a cool idea if the creators can get paid, and we can find a way, like, basically, creators get paid, and anytime music is distributed, creators are compensated for that. Because I mean, it's the real problem with LimeWire, Napster, all that type of stuff is that's really what crashed the entire recording industry, and a lot of that was just like illegal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then we gave birth to the only reviving thing, which is essentially streaming, which still pays like pennies on the dollar. So, I mean, yeah, totally. I think it's an interesting novel concept, especially because, music NFTs, I'm really excited about what NFTs could do for creators and musicians and digital rights management, all that type of stuff. And hopefully, it would be an interesting arc if LimeWire came back and actually helped that problem rather than
kickstarted
than pay for their sins.
Love it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Very cool. All right. Great updates, everybody. Great comments in the chat. If you got anything you want to talk about, definitely ping Walshy on Twitter. You can find his Twitter handle there. If you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you'll take a master shortcut entirely, I should become a blockchain master step by step, start to finish, over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.